Hi, it's Saturday morning and you are at Soulprint Intuitive Tarot. Thank you so much for finding us at Soulprint. So, I wanted to do a reading this morning and just sort of hit a bunch of separate topics, kind of maybe past, present, future, or present, future, just basically to try and maybe come to some understanding or some clarity regarding the U.S. political week that was, because boy, it was a doozy. So let's see, we had Cohen's testimony that was remarkable. And as I had said in my previous reading about him, it was very clear to see that this was a man who was devastated and was sort of doing what he could to make things right. I felt, that sense, that feeling came through rather clearly. We have Trump. We have him in Vietnam. So that was an unmitigated disaster. We have the Mueller investigation. We have the Southern District of New York. We have a lot. There's a lot going on. So I'm just going to start. And like I said, I'm just going to sort of hit on a few topics and see where we get to. So thank you once again for joining me at Soulprint, and here we go. So I'm just going to sort of concentrate right now on the United States as a whole. Just sort of, where are we? What do we need to know? What's going on? Okay. So this is the card that sort of is going, these are the cards that are going to set the tone. So we're starting with the death card. Hang on here, I'm just going to shift that up a bit. Okay, so we're starting with the death card. Change. Dramatic change. That is not only what happened in 2016, but certainly what most people are gunning for now and rolling into 2020. So change came. It was not a change that was agreeable to most people. It was not a change that was pleasant. It was a wake-up call. It was realization of what can happen when, as citizens, you sort of take your eye off the ball and just assume that the government's on top of it. So the situation that the United States in, and it's not unique to the United States. There are other countries who have experienced it, other countries that are going to experience it, is just simply a lesson in how to be a responsible citizen, and the understanding that without people keeping a close watch, things are going to get corrupted. It's just as simple as that. The next card is talking about strength. It's talking about sort of taming the wild animal, taming the lion's inner strength. And this, to me, is just a reflection of the strength and sort of focus that has been needed by people in order to move beyond almost literally the shock of the election and more importantly, the continual sort of incremental attacks, the incremental tearing down of what is known to be normal and right, decent and correct. Those things are getting torn apart, and on one hand, and then on the other hand, you have a group of people, a group of energy working incredibly hard to keep things, to hold them together until a sort of a more permanent, definite kind of change can take place to sort of stop the environment that you're in now. The Lover's card is next. So that's talking about partnerships, deals that were done. Relationships that perhaps weren't obvious at the time of the election, or relationships or business agreements or business arrangements that were kind of being conducted in spite of the election. It all boils down to these relationships and what people thought that they could get from the individual relationships. I'm starting to suspect that Trump is not Putin's puppet as much as Trump is Putin's useful idiot. He is that person who is so greedy, so desperate to get what he wants. In this case, the Moscow Towers. So desperate to get that he just doesn't care what he says. He will flatter whoever it takes. He will do whatever deals that need to be taken. He will throw whoever needs to be thrown under the bus. And so in that process, it became, really clear, really easy for Putin to go, wow, this is absolutely somebody I can use, because frankly, he's not very smart, and he's so anxious to please me, to make me happy, so that going forward, maybe I'll give him this tower in Moscow that literally he is going to just lap up, believe everything I tell him, and sort of follow me around like, just an obedient dog. So that's kind of the energy I'm actually getting on that. The Hierophant is talking about the reliance that is going on now in the institutions, the hope that we have in the institutions, the energy, the good energy, the prayers that we send them, the thoughts that we send them. This is about Mueller. This is about the Southern District of New York. This is about congressional hearings. This is about wanting the government to be healed and whole and functioning the way it was, or hopefully a better version of what it was. And this final card, the one that sort of fell out when I was shuffling, talks about intergenerational money. So you're talking about old money, people with power and money who honestly, no matter how much they put into the campaign, no matter how much they wanted him to win when he was the only viable choice left, they have come to realize that he is uncontrollable. He is out of control. You're going to see more and more donors pulling back their money, saying, you know what, listen, this guy is like a loose cannon, and we just can't have that going on. He's just out of control and kind of needs to be slowed down and put in his place. So, this is one of the things that we learn in life as we go through life about making a mistake. When we make a mistake, there really is that sense that you have to put things to right again. You have to correct the mistake. You have to get things corrected. But if you actually think about your life, you'll notice that very often the correcting of a mistake takes time. It's not something that you can just flip a switch. And so the correcting of the 2016 election is also something that you can't just flip a switch. It's going to take time. It's going to take effort. And if it's going to be done properly in a way that sort of encourages this kind of behavior to not happen again, you have to be able to take that breath and just let the situation unfold. Okay. So, see what this next line talks to us about. So, the story these cards are telling. This is about Trump. The whole campaign was about marketing. The American people know that. It's been said. There have books that have been written, firsthand accounts. Everybody's heard Trump didn't expect to win. He really didn't. And when he did, it threw everything into an absolute uproar because that was not his game plan. His game plan was to lose. He was going to lose, and then he was going to walk through these two upright cards, two up the cups. He was going to turn around and walk that way, back into a future that he created. And it was going to be a wonderful future because he was going to be able to sell himself as a vice president candidate. He was right up there. He was the top of the top. It was really going to be the ultimate ego boost for him and something that he could control and he could manipulate going forward. What he didn't expect was to win, and the other was the unbelievable light that then was going to get shone on his life. He thought that he could just carry on being bullyish and aggressive and rude and just attack people, and everybody would back away. And in fact, he thought it would be easier because he's president now. He's got some serious clout. He didn't realize that the lights that were going to shine on him and his life potentially can bring down him and his life. He didn't see it coming. He was so into the next deal, the next strategy. He never had a plan B for what if I win. So he finds himself in a hell of a predicament because he doesn't know how to be a president. And he recognizes, certainly in those first, beginning months and days, that people were not thrilled that he was president. Yep, there was that small little 30% group who just thinks he's amazing. But when you have 70% of the country that's either ambivalent about you or flat out does not like you and wants you removed from office, you're going to have kind of a tough go of it. And this is the tough go of it that he has had. It is going to be, and this is present, and this is what's going to continue to happen. I said in one of my last videos that the problem with the situation with Trump was going to be death by 1,000 cuts. That's what it's going to be, and I'm going to explain that with the next row of cards I do. So he just keeps getting stabbed. I mean, it's one attack after another, and this is what you need to understand. Take a deep breath. Come on, breathe in, blow it out. Understand this. This is the beginning of the beginning of the end. We're not in the middle. We're not near the end. This is the beginning. And why are we at the beginning? Because it took until now for Democrats to get the power and be able to put some force and energy into the U.S. political system. It took, there was that 2 years of dormant, and only now has that energy started to move. Now, I do appreciate and acknowledge that during those 2 years, saying it was dormant isn't actually accurate. What it was quiet. It was sort of kept quieter. It was under the QT. Certainly government was doing very little. And the other investigations and things that were going on were sort of being kept behind closed doors. They were kept under wraps. So this is now when the momentum actually starts and actually gets moving ahead. So that's going to be very interesting to watch. I'm going to stop this video now. We're going to call this part 1, and I'm going to just continue recording again a part 2, and I'm just going to continue with exactly this format. So I'm going to finish recording this one. I'm going to remind you that if you enjoyed it, please like or subscribe, leave a comment. I would be delighted. And I'll see you in just a few minutes.